Ballback.
Yeah,
Lebanon. So we find that I think is getting to some of the secrets of this ancient technology.
Yeah, so the prize here again could be to utilize this kind of technology or develop it and then bring it into play again and build this, kind of this global, I guess, empire with that might more closely resemble the idea, at least, of what the collective humanity has regarding a more ancient civilizations, like, for example, Atlantis that you mentioned earlier.
Right, exactly, and but like I said, if this energy manipulation, and if this comes down to what is now being studied scientifically here in the United States, which they call zero-point energy.
Yeah.
In other words, drawing energy from even the vacuum of outer space.
Yeah.
And again, at the atomic and subatomic level, if they could make that practical, then you're talking about limitless free energy.
Yeah.
All right. Now, with the people who control us through their monopoly of gas and oil and petroleum products, do they want us having free and limitless energy?
Nope.
I think not.
Unfortunately, not. No. So I mean, what does it take to end this? I mean, this era that we are basically in at the moment, because it seems to, as we've been saying, we're moving more and more closely to where we have less and less freedom and all this stuff. But in some sense, it almost feels like there are a number of other things, like the technology, as you just mentioned, that actually would help to liberate humanity. So I mean, we are at this...
That technology is being suppressed.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So it seems like we are at
this
So
what do we do about it?
Yeah.
Well, number one, I'm a journalist, okay? I'm not a activist. I'm not a revolutionary. I can't tell people what to do. But what I will say, and the thing we have to do, is to educate ourselves, and then educate our fellows. Because only once we understand what is truly going on in the world, and what the possibilities are, and what the potential is, then, and only then, can we make decisions on what we need to do to bring about a more peaceful and loving world.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that the knowledge, of course, and also to get the curiosity back to and just to research these kinds of subjects and know that there are so much more to the world and to reality, basically, than we're being told. It feels like our creative nature is being taken away from us, and we are becoming more and more closed-minded, so to speak. Do you agree?
Right. Some years ago there were people, forward thinkers, who were writing that we are going back into another dark age.
Yeah.
Okay, and I thought, well, that's ridiculous. Our educational systems are the height. We know more today than we did 100 years ago, and we knew more 100 years ago than the 100 years before that. And, how can they say this? And yet, when I look around me and I see the absolute vacuum that television has become, and everybody's distracted with sports and soap operas and game shows, and nobody is thinking anymore about what's going on. For example, one of the reasons I got into journalism was because it did not require a lot of math, a lot of mathematics, because I've never been very good with numbers, and I think that's because I'm a people person. I want to know, how does it feel and what does it mean for everybody. I don't really care what A or B means or a bunch of set of numbers.
Yeah.
But yet, for that, I got a very good education, and when I was a young man, I worked as a checker one time in a grocery store, and I could actually make change in my head, because this was before the day of the computer. But now, just yesterday, I bought a meal, and the bill was like $6.10, and I handed the girl a $10 bill, a dollar bill, and 10 cents. Well, I should get, then that way I get a $5 bill back, and I don't have a bunch of change or a bunch of.
Yeah.
She couldn't handle it. She didn't understand what was going on. She could not even calculate the change in her head. She had to finally put it into the computer cash register that told her that I got $5 back. Okay?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, we are being dumbed down.
Yeah.
And we are being smothered with inconsequential information to keep us from focusing on what's real and meaningful.
Absolutely. So I have a few other points I'd like to just kind of throw out at you here and get your take on it. I mean, I know I read your book Alien Agenda. I guess it's about 3 years ago now. But you talk in there about the moon, because I had a few different articles on my site a while back regarding the idea that the moon might be kind of an alien artifact, so to speak.
Right.
And
a natural object.
Exactly. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about that, the moon?
Oh yeah, that I've had more comment on that first chapter in Alien Agenda about the moon than probably anything else in that book. Because again, everybody thinks they know everything there is to know about the moon. Why? It's just a dead world. There's nothing up there. There's no atmosphere, no water, no nothing. And yet we're finding out all the time bits and pieces of information keep dribbling out, and we find out whoa, they have found water on the moon. There is a thin atmosphere on the moon. There is a magnetic energy field around the moon. The moon creaks at certain times of the month when it's closest to the Earth, as though some plate's loose somewhere and shifting. They've seen water sprays spread across the surface of the moon. They've seen strange monuments and artifacts on the surface of the moon that they can't explain, including one that's almost a mile high. It is almost like a needle standing up or an obelisk. And yet we're basically told, don't worry about the moon. It's interesting. The moon, on one of the occasions when they dropped one of the landers back onto the moon, NASA announced that the moon reverberated for like 6 hours. As they themselves said, it almost rang like a bell, which indicates that it might be hollow. Okay? And we do know that the more dense matter is on the surface of the moon, and you go down through the surface, it gets softer and softer. In fact, I had a very interesting conversation one time with Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the sixth astronaut to walk on the moon. And I said, Dr. Mitchell, what do you think about the theory that the moon is hollow? Well, he started immediately laughing and scoffing. He says, oh, no, the moon's not hollow. But then he continued and he said, of course, we are thinking that perhaps there are giant caverns inside the moon. And of course, I didn't want to get in his face, but I'm thinking to myself, giant caverns in the moon, hollow moon, what's the difference?
Exactly.
So we don't even know all we think we know about the moon. But the main thing about the moon is, and just stop and think about this, when I was in school years and years ago, we were taught the moon had formed by breaking away from the Earth. But once we got to the moon, we found the minerals and compositions up there that clearly show that it did not come from the Earth. Okay? So that means the moon came from somewhere else. So now picture the Earth hanging in space, and here comes the moon, and it goes past the Earth, and it gets caught in the Earth's gravitational field, and it gets slowly, over a period of time, pulled back, and it goes past the Earth again, gets caught in the gravitational field, and it gets pulled back again. In that case, in that natural aspect of it, you would think that the moon's orbit would be elliptical, a long elliptical oval going around the Earth, and that it would probably wobble all around. But that's not what we see. What we find is the moon is in a near perfect circular orbit around the Earth, the only perturbations being that it matches the wobble of the Earth, and that it's stationary. One side always faces the Earth. One side, the dark side, is always away from the Earth.
Exactly.
How is that possible naturally? And it's not. It's just not. But see, this is a good example of where our thinking disconnects. We all know and have been